Today we're talking about personal care services agreements, also called caregiver agreements in Colorado, and how they work with Medicaid eligibility and nursing home care costs. My name is Bill Henry. I am an elder law attorney with Robinson Henry. I see these caregiver agreements all the time. People print them off from the internet, and unfortunately, far too often, they do absolutely nothing. And in fact, they create a ton of problems. Let me give you a little bit of background of why these are used first before we sort of get into the details of what needs to go into these caregiver agreements. So take an example. Let's say daughter, and she's got her father, and her father has dementia, and dad's not in a nursing home yet, but we expect at some point in the future he will be in a nursing home. But before he goes in, daughter's going to need to help dad out. Dad's going to need a lot of care, helping getting ready, helping going to doctor's appointments, making dinner, things of that nature. How is daughter going to get paid? Because when dad goes into the nursing home and he needs help qualifying or paying for that nursing home, then he's going to look to a program called Medicaid, which is different than Medicare. And Medicaid will pay for dad's nursing home care costs if he doesn't have a lot of money, because he's had an entire life savings, and say he wants to compensate daughter for all the things that she's doing. Well, Medicaid is going to go back through dad's finances for the last 5 years, and any money that was given to daughter, unless it was done under a caregiver agreement or in some other valid way, is going to be deemed a gift. So it's not good enough that daughter just does all these things. And it's not good enough that dad says, I'm going to pay you for all these things. And even if we could prove that daughter did it, if dad just writes a check to daughter, unfortunately, that's going to be deemed a gift, disqualifies dad from getting any help paying his nursing home care bills for a period of time. The length of time before Medicaid will pick up the nursing home care bills really just depends on how big that gift was. So we can avoid that, though. We can pay daughter and we can qualify for Medicaid. So those are not mutually exclusive. We can do it, but it's just we have to be very particular with how we do it. So the first thing we're going to do, there's really 8 different things that we need to focus on. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create this caregiver agreement, and we're going to put it in writing. So that's number 1. It needs to be in writing. Number 2, it needs to be signed by the applicant for Medicaid. That's going to be dad. So when dad goes in the nursing home, he's the one that needs the help. He's the one that's going to apply for Medicaid. If dad doesn't have capacity, that's okay. His power of attorney or his conservator or guardian can sign this caregiver agreement on his behalf. The caveat, though, is daughter can't sign for dad. So we can't have daughter signing for dad and then she signs for herself. That's not going to work. So there's your first 2 items. So in writing, signed by the applicant. The next one is daughter can't be dad's agent. Well, what does that mean? That means that daughter can't be dad's guardian, can't be dad's conservator, and can't be dad's power of attorney. So she needs to be completely separated from dad if she's going to receive any money under this agreement. So there's 3. Number 4 is that we need to detail out the type, the frequency, and the time that daughter's going to spend and what she's going to do for dad. So what does that mean? Basically, we need to show what is daughter going to do, how often is she going to do it, and how much time is she going to spend doing it. From there, we go on to number 5. So number 5 is that the payments must be at least monthly. So in this agreement, we need to list out that daughter will get paid at least monthly. Number 6, we have to say what daughter's going to be paid, and the amount that she's allowed to get paid has to be comparable to what other people are paid in the community. So if daughter happens to be a doctor, she can't get paid her doctor rate, even though it's medical services. That's not going to fly. She can only get paid what other people in the community would get paid. So the amount has to be reasonable and comparable to what other people rendering the same services would get paid. What would that number be? I mean, minimum wage is always going to be safe. $15 an hour, you're probably okay. When you start moving up from there, of course, the higher you go, the more likely you're going to be challenged under this whole agreement. Finally, number 7, there's 2 more. So number 7, daughter has to keep a log of everything that she does. So we said that dad would write in this agreement what daughter's going to do, but now she has to actually show what services she did render for dad. So what would that look like? Let's say on May 1st, she goes over to dad's house and helps him get changed. Well, that would be an example. She would write down May 1st spent 1 hour, whatever the case may be, helping dad get ready for the day. or helping dad get changed, or making dinner, take him to the doctors, whatever the case may be, she's got to list out those services. And she can't list out any services that other people are already getting paid for or would be responsible for. So if somebody else is responsible for taking dad to the doctors, she can't get paid for that. So then finally, number 8, this agreement has to be notarized. So we have to notarize the agreement, which means that it can't just be signed by dad. And sometimes I'll see that everything else is fine except the agreement wasn't notarized. And that is just not going to work. It's got to be notarized. So there's your 8 items. Well, let's take 2 examples that have come up that I've seen over the last year. What if daughter rendered services for dad? She did all this stuff for dad. We can prove that daughter did it, but we didn't sign the agreement for a year. So we didn't get this whole caregiver agreement beforehand. Can we get paid for those services? Well, the answer is no, we can't. We can only get paid for services that we did after the date that we signed the agreement. What about on the other end? What if instead dad says to daughter in January, here, I'm going to give you, I don't know, $50,000 to do all these things for me for the next year or two. And then a month later, he's got to go into the nursing home, unfortunately. Can daughter keep that money? No. All that money that daughter received, other than that 1 month where she did perform services, is going to be countable against dad. It's going to disqualify him from Medicaid until that money's either paid over to the nursing home or a penalty period runs. Again, my name is Bill Henry. I am an elder law attorney with Robinson Henry. If you could do me a favor and share this agreement, I would appreciate it. Like I said, so often these things aren't done properly, and they really should be. It's a shame because I know how hard caregivers and children are working for their parents. So it really is appropriate that they do get paid for their time. It's just too bad that far too often the agreements are not valid. If you've got any questions on this, I know I went over it pretty quickly. Feel free to drop me a note, and I'll talk to you next time.